Greetings, guys. This is a Metacracy show. This is a technologically philosophical discussion, and we're today with Evgeny Kudrin and I'm Dan Ivanov, your hosts, and we're going to talk today about two main topics. First topic is decentralized network and decentralization in a whole, and the second topic is artificial intelligence. I will start right now about I will tell you some of my thoughts about decentralizations. For the decentralized networks, there are several reasons to be introduced to the modern people. Why actually they are introduced? Why they are important for the human being? Just a moment, sorry. There are several reasons actually. The main reasons are governmental pressure and surveillance on them. So they're opening the private lives, looking after some people, and doing some other weird stuff. Another point is that there are some centralized points of traffic exchange where you can put your tap on and listen to this exchange and control the traffic, to survey the traffic, to change some stuff. Another way is that corporations love to control everything. They want to listen for us. They want to know what we're looking for. They want to know what we're searching for. And though they change our opinion in the point of they need. Another point is that we need a stable internet for the modern life, but centralized internet cannot be stable really, because if we destroy one node, we destroy a few nodes, the part of internet drops out, and you cannot support it. If you have decentralization, this will be not a problem for you. Another problem is that the cost of creating large-scale inter-exchange points, data centers, are very high. So no private person could ever create a data center which will suit to transfer a large amount of traffic. So that's why corporations and government together creating these data exchanges, and of course sometimes they surveillance the traffic, they save some data from you. It happens in US, it happens in Russia, it happens in many countries which are using the PRISM, maybe you know, which are parting in the 89 surveillance program, different spy program. You can read in the internet about this from the Snowden, for example, or from other sources. So these are the sources of developing the decentralized networks. People want to know they will not lose their data. People don't want to give their data to another to government. So I have to note three important arguments that are raised when we speak about decentralization and centralization. This stuff has 3 points. First is fault tolerance. Fault tolerance means that decentralized systems are less likely to fail accidentally because they rely on many separate components. The second is attack resistance. Attack resistance is that decentralized systems are more expensive to attack and destroy and manipulate because they lack sensitive central points. So you cannot destroy them from one place, and they cannot be attacked at a much lower cost than the economic size of the surrounding system. And the last one, third point, is collision resistant. What does collision resistant mean? It is much harder for participants in decentralized systems to collude the act in ways that benefit them all at expense of other participants. Where are the leaders of corporations and governments collide in ways that benefit themselves, but less well-coordinated citizens, customers, employees. So what does it mean? The government took over together with the corporations, and they made something that is useful for them, but not for citizens. Also, I want to know that there are several types of decentralization. First one is architectural decentralization. It means that how many physical computers is a system made up of? For example, 10, 100, 1000. How many of those computers can it tolerate breaking down at any single time? The other type of decentralization is political decentralization. What it means is how many individuals or organizations ultimately control the computers that the system is made up of. And the last one is logical decentralization or centralization. Does the interface and data structures that the system presents and maintains look more like a single monolithic object or amorphous worm? One simple heretic is, if you cut the system in half, including providers and users, will both halves continue to fully operate as independent units? These types of decentralization are very important because we have, in the modern time, we have really example of architectural decentralization, we have examples of political decentralization, but we still don't have any examples of logical decentralization. What I mean is the blockchain. The blockchain are politically decentralized because no one controls the blockchain. The term itself, the idea, the main idea. Blockchain also is architecturally decentralized because there is no central point of failure of the infrastructure of blockchain. You can drop one computer, 10 computers, 100 computers, even more, but Bitcoin, for example, will continue to work, BitTorrent will continue to work, so there is no central point of failure. But the problem of blockchain is it's still logically centralized. It means that there is one commonly agreed state and the system behaves like a single computer. It might be a problem or it might be not, but anyway, we face this not 100% decentralization in the real modern world. If we see the EOS or we see Ripple cryptocurrencies, yes, they are mainly centralized actually. They have some part of the code is decentralized, but they are controlled by some organizations that can influence the network very much. So it cannot be 100% decentralized and it cannot work without users. It cannot serve itself. So it needs users, miners, delegates, witnesses, whatever. So these are the problems we address, and I think in the future we might solve some of them. We might invent some new technologies. Maybe we will attract some more developers to this. What do you think, Evgeny?
I think that you are quite optimistic about decentralized networks. So why Ripple is so popular? Because it's quick, because its performance is high. Decentralized network cannot compete right now when it comes to speed with centralized networks.
Yes.
My second thought is that vast majority of corporations and governments are actually not interested in decentralized networks. There are some exceptions, as you already know. President of Venezuela tried to,
invent some cryptocurrency.
Yes, it was not very successful, but still some, outsiders among governments are trying to avoid limitation of traditional monetary system. There are some, situations where they can be interested in decentralized networks, but in general they aren't. So will be energy of enthusiasts enough to develop infrastructure for decentralized networks when big corporations and governments are not actually interested in developing this kind of infrastructure?
This is very good questions. At first, I would say it's hard to understand what will happen with the infrastructure. I think that now BitShares and EOS infrastructure is fast enough and is decentralized enough, and in the future the problem of broadcast, of the problem of bandwidth channel will be solved. So it's a question of time. Mm-hmm. And the second question is a question that really relies on the idea of developing the networks from the lowest part, from the people, to the higher controlling states, and also to developing the same stuff or maybe other cryptocurrency or maybe other decentralized solutions from the corporations, from the government, and going down. So both directions are moving now, and at some place this direction will connect, and we will see new technologies coming into use, into widespread. And I think we have to move to artificial intelligence topic now.
So let me start.
Yeah, please.
Before we start speaking about artificial intelligence, we must define what intelligence actually is. For example, if we look at telemetry, then we can observe there are complex architecture, the cultivation of mushrooms, and the division of labor even within the same biological caste. But despite all of this, we do not consider termites as carriers of intelligence. If we try to identify the existence of intelligence by some biological parameters, such as development of the neocortex, then this criterion can hardly be applied to termites or artificial intelligence. The size of the neocortex is different among various animals. So-called encephalization rate is used to assess the representation of neocortex, and using this criterion we can suspect the presence of intelligence in people, higher primates and dolphins. For example, if you are talking about adult human, encephalization rate is something about 6.8 or 6.9. In the bottlenose dolphin, it's something like 5.3, and if we are talking about capucin, it will be something like 4.8. But neither dolphins nor higher primates cannot build same complex infrastructure as termites. It turns out that we need some other criteria. Rather, we will identify intelligence through the ability to solve specific tasks or the ability to change the environment. Actually, long before invention of computers, the famous philosopher Descartes, in his work Discourse of the Method, raised the question of possibility of machines having intelligence. He cited two arguments in favor of inability of machine to think. The first argument is the impossibility of the full use of speech by the machine. The second is the fact that machine does not act consciously, but only due to location of its organs. Moreover, Descartes denied the ability to think among animals, comparing them with biological machines. The first argument in modern reality looks rather naive, since in the modern age there are already programs that are capable of recognizing and constructing speech even if they are far from perfect. At the same time, the humanity itself may fall under the second argument, because it still needs to be proven that human really has his own independent will and that his behavior is not the sum of genetic and social programs in a sense. If human behavior is fully determined biologically and socially, is it legitimate to ask the question, is it possible for human to act consciously at all? One of the famous tests designed to test ability of the machine to think is so-called Turing test. The Turing test was proposed by English mathematician, logician and cryptographer Alan Turing back in the 1950 in the philosophical journal Mind in the article Computing Machinery and Intelligence. Turing proposed that a human evaluator would judge natural language conversation between a human and machine designated to generate human-like response. The evaluator would be aware that one of the two partners in conversation is a machine, and all participants would be separated from one another. The conversation would be limited to a text-only channel such as computer keyboard and screen, so the result would not depend on the machine's ability to render words as speech. There is actually also a theory about so-called weak artificial intelligence and strong artificial intelligence, and mostly when we are talking about strong artificial intelligence, it means that this kind of intelligence is self-conscious, and while we are talking about weak artificial intelligence, we are talking about some kind of intelligence which is only able to solve specific tasks. Like, for example, something like AlphaGo is considered weak artificial intelligence. This is artificial intelligence designed to play Go. And when we are talking about something like Watson, IBM, it can be considered strong artificial intelligence. What's interesting, recently, one famous person, Henry Kissinger, was writing an article because he was quite impressed by ability of AlphaGo to outsmart human, and he actually wrote an article in Atlantic Journal which called is How the Enlightenment Ends. And actually Kissinger is, well, I can say he's scared about perspective of artificial intelligence. He actually thinks that humanity in general is certainly not ready for such kind of technologies because we cannot fully comprehend the solutions which can artificial intelligence present to us in different areas. What do you think about this?
I was going to ask you too. What do you think when it will happen?
Well,
when the strong artificial intelligence will come to life? Is it possible to see for us, to see the real intelligence?
Well, as I already said, it is not possible to define what is intelligence at all. But
yeah, if we're speaking about something that can do a lot of
I
stuff
think
and
that in many
perform like people.
Yeah, in many operational tasks, artificial intelligence is already more efficient than human. When it comes to tasks which are still hard for artificial intelligence, it's something like pattern recognition. So it will be convincible when artificial intelligence will be as good as human when it comes to pattern recognition. Then I will believe that artificial intelligence is actually quite strong. But what will be indicator of
successful creating of this?
Well,
and what are your ideas about like you said? Let's just predict 5 years, 10 years when you will see something that really works similar to people, like 95%.
I think 10-15 years.
10-15 years.
You will pay $10 for the artificial intelligence to be created in 10 years. $10.
Well, this is very interesting question because some of developments can be still hidden. Because some of such developments can actually be existing already, just not in the public scale. Perhaps some intelligence agencies or big corporations already own something like that. So majority of the population will be actually will be not knowing about such technology.
How do you think, to speak from the conspiracy side, how do you think, are there already existed something that currently helps artificial intelligence to learn new stuff, to become more stronger?
There is no conspiracy in this actually. Such things are used even in Google CAPTCHA. So actually some of the CAPTCHA tasks which you are performing are helping artificial intelligence in pattern recognition. So there is no conspiracy theory at all, it's already existing.
So I think we will discuss this topic later in the next show. Thank you for viewing. You can subscribe to our channel, and if you like the English variant, then please comment below. And I would also say that we done everything everything you see with free software. It's OBS, Open Broadcast Software. It's Manjaro Linux, and you can make similar stream too to the DTube, to different places, to the YouTube, of course. See you next time. Thank you for this small talk.
See you soon.
Bye.